I have been following you, sir, on LinkedIn, and I have read your articles. So many of our professional colleagues have also read your articles on LinkedIn and various other online boards. With this, I introduce our today's learned speaker, CA Madhukar Hiragange sir, to take the charge of the session.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Ketan, and for the opportunity, and Dushyant for going through the profile fully. Today's topic, which Ketan had given me, was practice development in indirect taxes. In indirect taxes, basically, if you look at it, we have some amount of revenue to the government in central excise, in the old VAT law for the petroleum products, in liquor, excise is there, the state excise, then you have stamp duty, but I will be only looking at central IDT, which means only customs, and mainly 95% of my presentation will be on GST. If we look at, how I'll be covering, let me just look into the future first, and then maybe look at what is the scope, what is the canvas, maximum amount of tax, what is there, where are the problems which are there, could be there. What I think somewhere people have to mute themselves, or I think the coordinator should mute them. Environment is very important. In fact, I'm going to spend a little time on the environment. What is it that the government is going to do? What is it that the CBIC does? What is it that GSTN does? And how they will be doing? Then, of course, the areas of practice in audit and litigation. I'm also going to spend on some points which is very important. What type of person I should be to do well? And maybe a few tips on how to be an expert. And maybe into 2021, how I can grow in this area of indirect taxes at whatever stage I am. If I look at this present pandemic situation, many of us, like Ketan said, are finding long-term goals being lost. We don't know what is going to happen with the clients. Many of them are saying our business in textiles has gone to the dogs. We don't have any possibility of doing well this year, maybe after next year, which means that our fees also gets affected. Sometimes we are unable to decide what to take up, what not to take up, unable to choose. We are not able to prioritize. There is also this uncertainty sometimes is leading to stagnation. I am very happy to understand that this study circle has taken advantage of this pandemic, because pandemic is there. How to do something in a challenging situation? Normally it is said, when the going goes tough, the tough gets moving. And I think that's what your study circle has done, having so many seminars for your benefit. We also may be finding that we are busy all the time, but neither we are effective nor satisfied at the end of the day. We may also find, because of this uncertainty, we are not able to say no to any work which comes. Otherwise, when the work was increasing, we had a facility where if we are too busy, we would tell the client, no, we can't do it. Go to somebody else. Today, you're afraid to do that. The question which comes to my mind here is, has this situation changed? All this, was it not there before pandemic for some of us? And has it changed now? I feel that better days are to come. And most of the bad news of the pandemic is over, is what I think. Let's look at the scope in tax practice 21-22. Direct tax collection, I'm not very sure of this figure, maybe a little more also, 12 lakh crores. Indirect tax collection, I have a little more command over. I'm talking about the coming year, 21-22, what is the estimate? I think it will be around 25 lakh crore, in which GST will be 14 lakhs or more. In fact, this PPT was prepared before the collection of December was announced. So I have been conservative, as chartered accountants are, in saying that 21-22 will be 14. It could be more. Customs is there. Then you have the VAT and central excise duty on petrol, which states and central are enjoying. Then you have other taxes also in indirect taxes, which may come to about 1 lakh crores. The important aspect in this is that this 25 lakh crores of IDT collection has, in many places, it has some set-offs. That means the credits, and these credits could be substantial. If you look at the transaction of a trader in Surat, he may buy at 100 rupees, he may be selling at 105. So his net tax payment is only 5% of 5, which is 25 paisa. Whereas his credit is 5 rupees. He buys at 5 rupees, he takes credit of 5 rupees, he charges 525. That 25 is 14 lakh crores. So what is the credit for him? The credit for him is 40 times, or not 40 times, how much is it? 0.25 means 20 times. On an average, if you look at all the products, and we know that the credits in services is little less, pure services like ours is very less credits, but the credit will not be less than 50 lakh crores. This is a very important aspect because 90% of the problems which department focuses on is on ITC only. Ketan was also mentioning, that so many 36.4, 86A, 86B, 89A, all these are towards ITC. Just measures to curb fake invoicing and how to catch the people. If we were to look at from the point of the manufacturers or the traders, the total amount of tax which is involved, that is IDT involved in the transaction, could be between 25 and 30, thanks to the cascading effect of certain credits not being available, like on stamp duty, on those petroleum products. Maybe there are some exemptions there for energy and electricity. All those restrictions ensure that though the average rate is 18, we may be paying much more than that. Similarly, the cost in the services sector would be higher, but it may not be that much of inputs are there. Therefore, it could be little lower than the manufacturing sector. The law of GST is evolving. That we should remember. It's not certain, and it is not fair, and certainly not transparent. All the things I want to do, it's not there. But we have given more than 200 suggestions in each of these aspects. It's available in our institute's website and also in my LinkedIn page, which Dushyant was talking about. So let's look at the position today. What is the position for us if we look at GST or indirect taxes? We are the supporting and certifying or advising professionals. We are also soft targets. How many times in the newspaper, every 3 days, whenever there is some arrest, you see chartered accountants' names also coming. Unfortunately, chartered accountants who are so conservative have either allowed their computers to be used, or they have supported people who are doing this fake bill invoicing, etc., getting into a lot of trouble. You need not get into all these. There is enough and more in the indirect tax. The opportunity for indirect tax professionals is immense. And it is, I always say that the total amount of fees which you can earn in indirect tax could be far higher than the direct tax fees. I've been saying this for the last 10 years. From 2011, when I was the vice chairman of the indirect tax committee, I've been saying that at that time I had pushing service tax, and in 2016 I started pushing GST. The government also is having a lot of power and lot of information. Data analytics is something which is available. They have got the integration from income tax and other government websites. All are sharing information now. So a person can look at RTO records, he can look at toll weight and link it to the e-way bill, PAN versus e-way bill. So the information and data analytic power of the government has gone up multifold. They don't require officers to actually find anything. Officers are only used to follow up on the understanding of the IT. You're also finding that information notices nowadays, it doesn't come one or two. Thousands will come at one shot. On one particular week, you'll find 2,000 notices across India for similar problems. This also makes the intermediary service, which some of us used to provide earlier, where whenever a notice came, we would go and meet the officer. Now the officer is not involved at all. Superintendent not involved. The notice has come and normally he is not well read, so he can't even give you good advice. We are also seeing less tolerance for evasion, especially this fake bill invoice you are seeing. Also, tax havens, which have been used, are being looked at with a lens. You know what has happened to the Vodafone case and the Keynes case and all that. While all this is happening, the department is quite busy putting a lot of restrictions in place and empowering themselves. Unfortunately, and sorry to say, our legislature or the elected body has absolutely become ineffective in laying down the indirect tax laws. They know nothing and they are not interested in knowing anything. So they have handed over the law to the bureaucrats. And you know what bureaucrats want. Earlier, before GST came, the total amount of bribes in India was 3 lakh crores minimum. That is my estimate. When GST came, it came down substantially, maybe 75% disappeared. Now it's coming back because of the officer's discretion coming. We also have this interconnection to money laundering, benami, with the tax laws. That means you do some mistake here or you do some mistake in the income tax, then even the GST may come after you. For many years now, the CFO is made to sign on the balance sheets for compliance of all laws, which includes GST and customs, etc. We are also finding that many of the people who come with FDIs, maybe about 40% of them are very strict about bribery, and they apply the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act on their people, the USA or UK, and this has extraterritorial reach. Whether we can defend it or not is I'm not getting into, but they do have. Because when those companies set it up here, for example, many of the MNCs whom we serve, they take a declaration from us along with confidentiality. They also take a declaration on not doing any activity directly or indirectly relating to corruption. Over a period of time, we have also seen liability for negligence to us has started. When a MNC is outsourcing to you, they give you a 40-page or 50-page document. Please read every small term. I know a chartered accountant who billed around 4 lakhs to a client and he got saddled with a 2.5 crore liability because one of his assistants made some mistakes. And his fee was not, his penalty was not limited to the fee. Now he has to go to the court. And what will the court say? You have signed a document. You have agreed to it. So pay the 2.5 crores. But that chartered accountant not worth 2.5 crores. How will he pay it? He thought he got a bonanza, but actually he got a severe beating, I would say. When I look at the opportunities are everywhere in GST. In the initial stage, I would say that when the client is coming to you or you are going to the client, focus on these 3 things to give him basic, because this is something which is very important. I will just put off my video. It says my connection little weak and I'll put it on once it is stronger. But the audio will be on. Classification, ITC, and valuation are three areas you have to do some sort of a due diligence before you take up long-term clients. Because if there is a mistake in any of these, it will impact your client very badly and he may hold you responsible. So either you should say, I am not looking at all this, I have not studied this because you have not given me the mandate to study. I am just doing the filing, etc. One of the other things which many of us are doing is that we are filing the returns as per the Excel sent by the client. This, in my understanding, is something which no chartered accountant should do. Don't do this dummy job. This dummy job can be done by a person who has failed 10th standard. Why you should be doing it? You should be doing it only if you are doing reconciliation, you are verifying the invoices, you are ensuring that the tax payment is at least on a test check basis proper. You will also find a lot of opinions being asked. I know that chartered accountants have been doling out opinions without any fee for decades. This is neither good for you nor good for the client, because client doesn't pay. You are not going to read up and tell. You will give a casual thing. You will also tell him that if you want, I'll study it. Nahi, chalega, Ketan bhai, yahi chalega, aap bata do bas se. But later, when the demand comes for 2 crores, client will come to Ketan bhai and say, sir, aapko yaad hai 2017 में मैंने फोन किया था. कब फोन किया था? मेरे को याद नहीं. नहीं, आप ड्राइव कर रहे थे ना, तब पूछा था, तो आपने ये clarification दिया था. So while Ketan is driving, he gave some clarification maybe for 30 seconds. Based on that, client wants to put that 2 crore liability on Ketan now. So be very careful in giving opinions. If you are giving any oral opinion, send a small mail to him saying that you had called me casually and I have told you casually, would you like us to study this further? That's all. Don't say anything more, but send a mail. So that when he comes back in 2024 to Ketan Bhai, he knows that I have followed this policy. So he'll go to his email and send him that email saying, would you like me to study it? And he will at least safeguard his name and also the client's allegation. One of the biggest opportunities I have seen is in the area of audit. In fact, all of you are aware that we have offices across India. And even today, after 9C has come, our major income, about 40 to 45% of our income comes from review audit, not from 9 and 9C. What we are trying to do is, in future, we are trying to merge 9 and 9C into this review audit and call it a concurrent audit, so that the benefit of the review audit reaches the client, and client will never leave us because these audits give him money. Every time we do a review audit, client gets value addition so high that whatever fee we are charging him is peanuts compared to what benefits he's getting. Will this continue forever? No, it will not. But over a period of time only it will go. So next 5 years, I don't think we'll only be paying our clients. Clients will not be paying us. The way the law has come, like Ketan said, the amendments, and he has not touched on various things which are not done. The GST Council, for example, the GST Council was very efficient in the starting. Now it has thousands of issues, and again, they are only taking the issues where there is a lot of noise. May be important, may not be important. They only take those which are having a lot of noise. The fundamental changes which are required in the GST law to make it strong, litigation-free, fair to the SSEs have not been taken up. Because, again, the bureaucrats only are running the GST Council also. We think our politicians are running, but our politicians first, hardly about 7 of the politicians who come to the GST Council understand GST law in any depth. There are a few who understand very well, but they will keep objecting, but they will be overruled in the end. This is what is happening in GST Council, and many states in due course of time may start challenging the GST Council decisions also. What I'm trying to say is litigation is a wonderful place for any professional. In the next 5 years, you'll see it will go like the share market went in this, in the last 6 months. Much more than share market, I would say. I expect the amount of litigation which was there last year, 10 times that much will be there in 21-22. And 22-23, it will go up by another 30 to 40% of whatever was there in 21-22. Foreign trade policy, since I have said I did indirect tax, foreign trade policy is also one very important area. It's also complementary, especially for the exporters in Surat and Gujarat. I think there's substantial amount of real exports also happening. There are also fake exports happening, which I'm not going to condone or anything. Be very careful if you're dealing with fake exporters, because these people send out bricks and then they claim some very fancy drawback and all that. They can get caught. And if you are there in between certifying, then you will also share the jail with them. Nowadays, people are getting jailed. Customs is a evergreen area of indirect tax, and anybody who is in customs will find very few people there. And in customs, what I am expecting is, as time goes, the anti-dumping and safeguard duties are also going to have more and more scope. You know what is the minimum fee in anti-dumping, which a few professionals in India are doing? Each case, minimum fee is 1 to 1.5 crores. 1.5 crores each case. Whereas if you get a GST dispute, which will take the same amount of time or maybe half the time, you may get 1 lakh. So you are getting 100 times if you are in that area. Very few have gone into that area. Even we have not gone. Maybe we also should think about that. There is also a lot of advisory possible in customs because of various schemes. Recently, a scheme has come, WOWR scheme, which allows the local manufacturers to import without paying duty on day one, only pay duty on completion of their production, and then, when they sell only, even for local, without any interest. Very important. So it's a huge working capital possibility. Of course, it has a lot of compliance, and therefore you and me, chartered accountants who are experts at compliance, will also get some retainership in these type of contracts. Huge amount of KPO is going to happen, already happening. KPO is knowledge process outsourcing. The clients say, we don't want to take the responsibility. You put a team, you take the responsibility. Whatever you say, we'll sign and give. This particular service is very high in the PSUs. You'll be surprised to know, because they don't have people who know GST. So they outsource it to chartered accountants, and you can expect about 50% margin, not 10%, 50% margin in these cases. It's also a wonderful place. We have not taken it up because we need to have great amount of interpersonal skill. You have to have a very strong HR department, because people come and keep going. Nowadays, people don't stick. Let me look at what are the further, types of audits which professionals can do. I told you that today, if there is, say, 1,000 crore of GST practice available today for us chartered accountants, will it be 1,000 crores? No, sir, it will be about 10,000 crores. Let me take 10,000 only. 10,000 crores is what is the practice available in GST. I'm just taking a figure. I actually don't know all the figures, but it will be around 10,000 or more. Maybe the Big Four will be able to give us a better idea, because I think the Big Four's total indirect tax, this thing may not be less than 3,000 or 4,000 crores. Only those four Big Fours. Rest of us are sharing that balance 6,000 crores. If you look at what type of audits you can do, many of us did our DISA. Some of us are also CISAs. Some of us have done forensic. So there are many of us who know IT and information systems. Maybe we can do a GST systems audit, because this is very important, especially for medium and large enterprises. This is required. Of course, the number of medium and large enterprises may be small. However, you can also do a GST procedures audit, which possibly is required for everybody. Procedures audit is required for everybody. In fact, larger concerns have a standard operating procedure for GST, and some of them may like you to prepare that SOP for them. I have seen that this particular product requires investment of your time and effort only once. After that, it is only slight change here and there. But the first one will be it may cost you about 2-3 lakhs of effort if you have to time yourself. But later, the amount of effort required to customize it to other clients may be less. The biggest product which I find, which we have been juicing from 1990, we have been doing it. From 1990, I started Central Excise Audit, and somewhere in 2000, I added the Service Tax Audit, and of course in 2017, we added the GST audit also. Internal audit only, I'm not talking about 9C. This internal audit, what does it do? It looks at whichever area the client wants us to look at. Normally, clients don't know what they want, so we normally say we'll cover all the areas. And does it work for everybody? At least we have seen that for people beyond 50 crores, it's a value-added proposition. Less than that, the problem will be you will end up doing all the work, base work required for the audit, like preparation of reconciliation, you will have to prepare. Some documentation missing, you will have to do. Entries missing, you will have to do. So rather than that, better to focus this type of a service for slightly bigger clients of yours. Remember, in the starting, I told you the scope of indirect tax, the GST credit is 50 crores, 50 lakh crores. This is an area which every SSC, every businessman wants to know whether he has missed any credit or has he taken any incorrect credit. There are more than 55% of all the litigation you are going to see in 21-22. Why 55? I think 65% of the litigation you'll see in this year, 21-22, will be in ITC only. So ITC audit makes sense to avoid future demands. It also makes sense for gaining or doing something early, taking credits appropriately, taking credits at the right time, not delaying taking credit. In case there is any incorrect entry, reversing immediately, avoiding the additional interest costs. So ITC audit normally is one of the star performers in audit in indirect taxes. Then, of course, you can do a compliance audit. There are many people who are interested in compliance also. They have done, either they have put good resources in their credit department, that is the accountants, chartered accountants or experienced people, and also in due diligence. When there are so many takeovers, mergers, etc., then also they would like to know that GST compliance is there. Valuation audits are only required possibly when there are a lot of group companies or your party outside India, that is your parent or your subsidiary outside India, they are also there and you have substantial transactions between you, then valuation may be important. As I said earlier, classification, especially if you are multi-product company, classification is very important. I have seen in my indirect tax practice, sometimes well-run companies getting destroyed because of one classification dispute, because their product was X, it was applicable at some rate, and they chose a rate which was lower because they were not sure. They said, when there is a rate of 15 and 10, we will choose 10. And somehow we will manage, but somehow they can't manage because 5% difference You know, especially in a place like Surat, you know that margins are sometimes just 1 or 2%. So 5% is almost catastrophic. 5 years, 5% becomes 25%. With interest, it will become another 25%. Penalty, maybe another 10%, 15%. You're talking about 60% of 1 year's turnover. Even the best businesses will fold. That's why classification is something which is very important to do. And don't do classification advice quickly. Client says, nahi, nahi, hamara dispatch ruka hai. Aap bata do. Don't give. Say, sorry, you can go to somebody else. Or say, I will take 3 days and tell you. Aapko bhejna hai to bhej do, baad mein additional invoice bhejna. If it is less. Exemptions audit also very important. Many institutions think that they are exempted. For example, all the educational institutions in India, all the charitable institutions in India, all the healthcare professionals in India. When I say all, 90%, okay? Whenever I use the word all, it does not mean 100%. It means 90%. That is the speaker's prerogative when we use this word all. So when I say all, it doesn't mean every institution. So when I say all, if there are 10,000 or 25,000, healthcare professionals in India, maybe out of the 10,000, 9,000 will not be aware that GST applies to them. But GST can apply because they can wear different caps. Many of the doctors, they give, for example, they get something from the person where they get their tests done. You go for a MRI, doctor's fee is 500 rupees, but he will refer you to MRI and maybe a CT scan, and that will be 20,000. He gets 5,000 out of that, and officially. So that 5,000 is not in the course of his practice, right? He could have charged 3,000. That is a different matter. But if he's getting from that diagnostics, then that will be liable to GST. Like this, rental in all these medical colleges. Many medical colleges are run by trusts. They are all related concerns, and they will give at 1 rupee rent. They will give the entire medical college will be given on rent. But as per GST, they are related concern, and they have to pay the GST on the market value. And if they have to do that, then what will happen? Specific review audits. That means area specific, like job work, like anti-profiteering, like reverse charge. These are areas where some persons feel that, okay, this is an area which I need to look at. Or when you do a general review, you tell them these are the areas where there seems to be some non-compliance. Better you do a proper verification. So you can get many other areas. I have just mentioned 3. Foreign trade practice or customs also are 2 big areas, and this doesn't take much time. For example, a FTP review audit for an exporter who is doing, say, 100 crores, 5 products, will not take more than 1 day. But you know what is the possibility? We have given benefits when we have done this in half day of more than 100 crores, because they thought that I'm doing software, I'm not eligible. But actually they were doing management consultancy, which is eligible for 5%. And in FTP, you can make application for the past years also with a cut. So we were able to get, hundreds of crores of benefit to people in FTP. And the amount of time you need to do this is very less. Of course, the whole FTP to read is very, very cumbersome. You require to have somebody who's already doing the procedures. You need to only get into that, whether it comes into that schedule, whether the conditions are met or not. Similarly, in customs also, there are a lot of compliance issues. And, many times SSCs get surprised because they file an incorrect bill of entry, and somehow they do something and that gets passed. After that, they start following that only. After 4 years, they get a notice saying that you should have paid, the full rate, whereas you are paying only 5%. And that difference they cannot recover from anybody, number 1. Number 2, you cannot charge, you don't get ITC for custom duty. You get it only for the IGST, which is paid when you import goods. In customs also, there are a lot of benefits. Like I talked about the MWR scheme. There is a advanced license scheme. There are various replenishment schemes. This is an area I think is very, very fertile, and very few professionals are there in customs and FTP. Mostly agents were there in this area, and now agents are not required. In fact, I think in the Bangalore region and also in the other branches, we have been quite successful getting the benefits from FTP by escalating wherever there is a delay. We normally escalate in writing to that officer himself, chance number one. Chance number two, escalate to his boss. After that, escalate to his boss and the commissioner, and after that to the JDDFT in Delhi. After following this, none of our clients' files are getting delayed now. None. Little here and there, they will try and create problem. We might have to visit couple of times, but we are experts at visiting. When we go, we'll visit income, we'll visit the GST department also, customs department also, and this one day we'll keep one Uber and move around everywhere and come back. So we have been able to do that quite well. And I'm sure all of you here, you all are Gujaratis, much smarter than we Kannadigas. We are clerks actually. We are best to be clerks, but somewhere one or two of us also do something little better. Litigation is a big area, and your Ketan also rightly, he was talking about this more. If I look at litigation practice in GST, the first question I ask is, you should ask is, why you don't want litigation practice? If you go to the tribunal anytime, even now, if you have a chance, please visit the tribunal wherever you have a chance. Just go. It's open. You can just go in, sit for 1 hour. You will come to know that with 1 or 2 years experience, you can also go to the tribunal. You can argue better than those people who are there. This is something which I saw about 25 years back. And let me tell you, chartered accountants have a natural advantage over the lawyers. We are very good in facts. Lawyers don't look at facts. And once you win on facts, the reversal never happens. Whereas if you win on a technical point, reversals can happen, and then you know that at higher forums, you cannot argue facts. Final fact-finding authority is only the tribunal. So I think that why you are not there is something you can look at. If you want to know how, in fact, there are a number of videos also which are available on our website also. And I think Tax Sutra is starting one course which I am supporting. It's a course which you can look on Tax Sutra website. That is one learning. I think the Indirect Tax Committee also has some knowledge learning sessions. You can try from them. And where you should practice from. This is something which has become very advantageous after this faceless assessment. Sitting in your small town of Surat, you can be representing your client in Bangalore. As long as you are competent, you can represent wherever you want, as long as you have good connectivity. And I think when I look at the future, I feel that this advantage of online is going to increase because of the number of cases which are already before various courts, tribunals. Some of the places where I think areas of litigation we can also do better. What is it that we miss as compared to the advocates? Advocates have good knowledge of the contract law. They have good knowledge of CRPC. These are some things which we can also imbibe. If you look at our institute's material, which I think in the year 2017, we had bought out a comprehensive material, you will find other laws, which are the segments which are useful are there. The most important thing which we cannot afford to miss is the area of constitutional challenge. And so we should understand which all clauses in the Constitution are related to indirect taxes. Also the legal maxims, which advocates may have a better understanding, we can look at that. Should we understand circulars? Certainly we should understand circulars, because at lower levels of litigation, circular only prevails. Even if it is a bunkum circular which finally will get quashed. Many circulars do not get quashed, and therefore they may have some value for taking it further. You will find there are about 20-25 definitions which are going to add to litigation. Maybe if you just go through all the definitions, you should be able to identify, starting with total turnover. Audit itself, the definition of audit is not what was the press release. You read the definition of audit, then read the press release. You'll find that the audit is far beyond that press release. Somehow they gave a press release which you know that it doesn't have any legal sanction. Then you will find in levy and in understanding supply, there will be a lot of mistakes. Reverse charge has always been a problem, and in GST it has not reduced. It's still going on. Your deemed supply, see, deemed supply is something which people in VAT regime would not understand. And any of the chartered accountants who used to do VAT practice need to be very clear that there is something called deemed supply, which was not there in the VAT regime. In the VAT regime, if I sold any goods without consideration, it was not liable at all. Maximum, there would be some restriction on the tax credit or tax deduction. Schedule 2, which is those entries where there is a doubt whether it is goods or it's a service, which is you can say it has some conflicts with the 366(29)(a) article of the Constitution, and also it has some, you can say, conflict and also some learnings from the negative list of service tax. As far as Schedule 3 is concerned, this is something which is neither a service nor goods, and you have real estate, sale of land or building. Now what is sale of land, whether it will include development rights, whether it will include royalties, there are so many questions in this. So I'm not going to get into all those problem areas, but this is also a ripe area of litigation today. One of the areas where we have seen already a lot of litigation is place of supply, especially for the intermediaries. And I think there are enough intermediaries in Surat also for the exporters as well as the local people. Time of supply more applicable, I would say, to the entire construction industry, because 98% of the construction industry is non-compliant with time of supply. They normally pay the GST only on receipt of payment, and you know very well that it is not in line with accounting principles also. As I said, evergreen area of litigation is going to be classification exemption. You have seen recently that sanitizers, there was so much of tug of war, and now thousands of notices have been given to sanitary manufacturers, thousands. And once you have read all the articles, you are as good as me to give a reply. And arguments come only at the tribunal level. Till tribunal, you can pull it, and then in tribunal, you can get an expert to argue along with you. Exemptions are also one area where you will find a lot of issues, because people either they don't, what I would say, study properly, or their documentation is faulty. So I have seen that 30 to 40% of the demands in exemptions can be defeated by just looking at the transaction in depth and making some disclosures. But the client should be regular. After the dispute, it may be difficult to fight exemptions because the law reads it very strictly. If you're not eligible for an exemption, even if you go to Supreme Court, you'll get the same decision. Valuation is little subjective, especially between related parties. We have got some leeway in GST. They have allowed, us to value at the value as per invoice. So we can value the goods at 1 rupee, even if it is 1 crore rupee. There are, of course, some requirements and safeguards for doing that, which I am not going to get into today. Because today's idea is that where is it that you can develop and how is it that you can develop. And I also want to see that I close my presentation by 5:30 latest, so that I give half an hour for all the questions which you have. While you are trying to see that you and the client are trying to see that the maximum input tax credit is taken, on the other side, you have the department which is looking at denying maximum input tax credit. Now I come to something which normally is not talked about. What I have understood in if you want to be a GST professional, you should be strategic. Strategic means you should decide what you are going to do in the next 10 years. In GST, since I am not in indirect taxes, I would say, since I am not interested in the rest of your practice, you can decide what you want to do about that. I am not coming in your way. But GST, you should be strategic. You should decide what all you want to do, and are you going to miss the bus? Very important. Because chartered accountants already are getting a major part of the GST practice as of now. And my understanding is even the litigation practice in GST, which now at present, maybe around 80% of it is with non-chartered accountants. In 4 years' time, it will be only 25% with non-chartered accountants. 75% will be with us only. So you have to decide strategically whether you are versatile enough. Can you learn, unlearn and learn? Why I have said unlearn? Because there are so many aspects of, say, central excise or so many aspects of VAT which are not the same in GST. Maybe out of, say, 100 provisions, which were 100 concepts in GST, which are there, if I compare to 100 concepts in excise, maybe 15 concepts in excise are not relevant anymore. But the important thing is 85 concepts are the same. That means I can go back to those case laws of central excise, which are there for 40, 50 years, and use them in GST. Are we using? I am not seeing chartered accountants using central excise cases in advanced ruling. There are some cases which are directly applicable. You can go to Metagraph for all your printing, a lot of dispute on printing. Metagraph case, if you go, and there is one more case starting from K. Both those cases, if you read, most of your printing cases will come under printing as a product of printing industry and 5% only. But there are thousands of disputes which have gone against the SSEs because chartered accountants have not gone back into the central excise law. They are reading GST books, and those GST books are also written by consultants who don't know central excise. So there is a big gap there. You should see that you buy books where central excise reference is profuse. For every one case of GST, there should be 10 cases of service tax or central excise. VAT, if I were to look at 100 provisions in GST, 100 provisions in VAT, maybe 25 provisions of VAT are applicable to GST. That means 75% I need to unlearn. I have to forget that this is the philosophy. Many of us, because of our VAT experience, we give wrong advice. And remember, clients are going to be very unhappy. An unhappy client, you can spoil your name in a few days. He doesn't, you do, 10 years of good work, small slips for 1 year is enough to bring down your reputation. Are we future ready is a question you should see. Start researching, reading, start early, and keep updated. For example, now for me, I am doing skilling for myself. I do 3 hours of skilling per day. My updation time is coming to an end because I have built up a very large team of experts in office. I cannot match them. Actually, they are too smart. They are too fast. They are too smart. Their memory is too good. So I am looking at management now and I'm skilling myself there. But still, I do 1 hour of updation on GST every day. So my time which I am spending is 4 hours. Now, you may say, sir, how can we spend 4 hours? We also have to serve the client. Actually, if you put a structure in place, except for that, critical period when 9C comes, none of our clients come in time. Are they going to come to you in April for 2021? Are they going to come to you in April? No. You can expect them in August earliest. So what are you doing from April till August? Do all this. No, learn. In that August, September, don't touch any book. Only do your work. Also, I have seen that GST requires a lot of mundane work, lot of reconciliation, lot of Excel work. Therefore, maybe we have to adopt information technology. We have been using information technology with some of our, you can say knowledge partners or whatever, technology partners as such, with whom we have found sometimes what we used to do, which will take 5 days, now takes us 15 minutes. And the cost is some 250 rupees per client. Is it not a huge saving? 5-6 days of work as compared to 15 minutes. Like this, a few products are there. I am sure that as time goes on, you'll have a lot of products from information technology. And many of these products will give you solutions on the mobile. So therefore, the type of professional who will be successful in GST is somebody who will equip himself with the base knowledge plus skilling himself. For example, now, can I do 9? See, I can't do. Can I do 9? I can't do. Why? Because I can't use that Excel to that effect. I can give advice on some $100 crore, consultancy I can give very accurately. But I cannot use the Excel to the extent it needs because I should know macros. I should be able to import, export, ensure that totals are proper, link properly. So I should have those skills. Are they the only skills? Sorry. Let me tell you, the world is changing so much that now some of the skills which have become most important is the skill of coaching. You'll be surprised. For chartered accountants, you are talking about coaching skill. Coaching skill has become the number one skill for any professional anywhere in the world now. Not communication, not presentation. It is now coaching. How you coach yourself and how you coach your team. That has become number one important. So I would say that in skilling, you should look at coaching. And coaching can also be for clients. For example, I have a lot of clients who are where we are doing some entry-level work, for which obviously client doesn't pay. He knows that you have appointed some BCom person, so he's not going to pay for that resource too much. And I don't want to give that service also, because tomorrow if that fellow makes a mistake, he will hold me responsible. So I would prefer that I train them. I'll tell them, you take entry-level operators and I will train them in GST so that liability will be with them. So training is also something which has become very important along with coaching. And of course, the old skills, empathy has also risen as one of the big skills. Today I was seeing one, How to be Future Ready for 2021, written by one of the great motivators, Robin Sharma. And he talks about empathy being a key skill. In fact, there is a video which I have recorded on empathy for our office, which is available on our website. You could, if you are interested, you could look at it. Empathy for clients I have talked about. You'll be surprised that most of us have no empathy for clients. But we say, my baap client hai, annadata client hai. These are all like our politicians say, refund aapko chutki mein mil jayega. Same, they say that, we say this. Both of us are wrong in saying it. Anyway, we also need to see that our client transits and is able to cope with the rapid change. What many of us are doing is, whatever changes come, we are forwarding to the client. Are forwarding to postman ka kaam hai. Even a 5th standard fail can forward. What are you doing as a chartered accountant? Are you adding value? Are you making forwarding only relevant things to him? Are you forwarding relevant things with a small note to him? These are the things which are extremely important, I would say. What are the supporting characteristics? You will find some overlap, okay, because I have cut pasted from 2-3 presentations and added a few things. So when I'm looking at knowledgeable, I have to acquire new knowledge. I have to update old knowledge, throw out the old knowledge which is not relevant, unlearn them. Then I have to get depth. Chartered accountants are not going to pay, clients are not going to pay you for giving what is available on Google. Google में है तो वही देख लेगा ना, आपके पास क्यों आएगा? So you have to be very clear that don't advise anything which Google, you don't know anything beyond Google. You say, नहीं मालूम है, पढ़ के बताता हूँ. If you tell him Google, he will never come back to you because he is only testing you. इसको क्या मालूम है क्या मधुकर को कि ऐसे ही बोलता ही रहता है कि हमने ये बुक लिखा वो बुक लिखा, कुछ मालूम है क्या उसको? That he will test out. Also now more and more industry specializations may have to be done, like SCZ, STPI, even iron and steel, pharma, health. You can even become an expert at any of them. APO we already talked about. This integrity is becoming a very important thing. Many of the clients now are becoming, earlier clients had a very long-term relationship with us. If we told him, "Hamare family mein shaadi hai, next week dekhte hain," he would say, "Okay." Now he may not. He will go to somebody else, and if he finds that person good, शादी के बाद आएगा तो कोई काम ही नहीं देगा आपको. You have come after your whatever marriage. So you have to ensure that continuous delivery of service is possible even if you are taking holidays. I would suggest that you take holidays also. Confidentiality is very important nowadays. With one small pen drive, information disappears. And therefore, coaching of clients and staff also has become very, what I would say, it's become too much. So retaining staff is difficult. Retaining clients also is difficult. Because many of the things in our office, most of the chartered accountant office are sieves. Anybody comes, that computer, maintenance engineer, if I pay that fellow 1,000 rupees, he will enter all your clients' reports in that pen drive and give to me. Possible. You just think whether it's possible in your setup or not. Professional competence also is something which people are asking for more and more. Do what I know only. Don't do what I don't know. Versatility, I talked about. Tech savvy, I have said. You have to adopt to latest technology. We are in fact trying to see if we can have a technology partner itself in the firm. Engineer with a team of 3 people or 4 people so that we have an in-house team. We have been trying with outsiders. It's not working too well. Our interpersonal skills need to be really increased because retaining and developing talent has become the key. As I said, coaching has become the #1 skill in the professional world today. Google it and see. You don't have to believe me. Google it and you will find all the biggest trainers in the world are talking about coaching being the top one. Ethical tolerance to corruption, bribery, is receding. However, we are seeing in GST that the bureaucrats are trying to get it back. Tax terrorism again. You also need to be willing to invest time and money. Those days are gone when you are saying that नहीं वो अगले साल जब थोड़ा पैसा बनाएंगे तब invest करेंगे. You will be left behind, let me tell you, because you don't have those tools. You will be doing things in a much long. I have found the biggest advantage I got in my practice is that for the last 20 years, I only spent my time on building second and third level. Committed professional leaders I created in our firm, maybe 200 of them, 100 or 100, but it's okay. The 50 who are left behind are, pulling maybe 20, 30 lakhs each. So we are able to do very well with our qualified itself. You should also have succession planning. Many times I find people when they are bother, once they are around 40, 45, they think that they will be able to practice till 80. Somewhere in 50, some adversity happens. After that, that practice dies. Nowadays, many of our children they don't find chartered accountancy very, very attractive. Sometimes they go for other things. So succession planning is very important. Otherwise, continuation of the firm itself disappears. Geographical flexibility possible because of online advice possible, online audit possible. In this 9 and 9C, you would have seen that 90% of the work you can do in your office. And in fact, maybe around, for us, we must have done more than 1,200 audits without going to the client's place. Not even need to go to client's place. Only we see, have a day-long, session with the accounts and be able to do the remotely the 9C audits, 9 and 9C audits. But still, in many places, it's not possible because of various reasons of confidentiality, and also maybe because we are not so tech savvy to the extent we need to be. Also, we have to be looking at our practice a little differently. Many of us have been, focusing on a test function. A test function, I don't know, for 30 years, my view was a test function is a losing proposition and a very risky proposition. I don't know what has happened now. Some of you can share whether it is risky or whether it is not. So I can ask a question. Let's see if some people can answer on the chat bot. Do you think a test function is becoming more risky day by day? Can you please share on that? There is a chat bot, no? Ketan?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Maybe they can answer on that for a few moments, then
Yes.
I'll continue. Please answer. We have 173, at least 10, 20 I get, I will start the next one. It started. Yeah, I think most of them are thinking like me only, that this it is risky and getting riskier. Therefore, I think the value-added services which get better fees. Let me repeat that. Value-added services get you better fee than this. For example, when I do a client's 9 and 9C, I charge them, say it's a 200 crore company. I'll be charging them around 75,000. But if I'm doing a review for them, I'll be charging them 3 lakhs per year. And they happily give, because the value addition for that 3 lakhs will be some 60, 70 lakhs. Whereas for that signature which I put at the end of 9C, I may have a lot of problem. In the end, he says, sir, ye chhod do, wo chhod do. If I'm not willing to leave, then mere ko hi chhod deta hai. So why should I put my major capability, which is to add value through my knowledge and experience and interpretation, why should I put it for a test function? I'm only talking of GST. A test function can be there in many other places also. So I am saying build in diversity in your thought process. Don't say, this I will not do. Keep yourself open for everything. Litigation, for example, you don't want to do litigation a big way. At least start with reply to notice. For representation, you can take somebody, you pay somebody, let the client appoint somebody, you go with them. Next time at first level, you can go for appearing. Second level, for appeals, you do the same thing. You will find within a year or two, you will find that you are quite capable of going up to appellate levels. Advanced rulings and all, in my understanding, you have to be a thoroughbred professional if you want to do advanced rulings. It's as good as a high court. That much of knowledge you should have of indirect tax if you are doing advanced rulings area. But this normal area of reply to notice, going to commissioner appeals and all, people with good knowledge are enough. You should do it. Don't say no to litigation, because litigation is going to be the cream. In fact, there is something which I wanted to share with you all, which I need written it down when I was just thinking today morning. What other value add I can give to the audience? Quickly, I will give you what table I had made. I am looking at 6 areas of practice and what value addition is possible in these areas. Number 1 is assistance. That is compliance, filing, the return, 3B, 1, all that. The margin there, I cannot expect more than 30%. If I look at audits other than 9C, 9 and 9C, it is 50%. The margin is 50%. So obviously there you can, even though it's an audit, your margin is good. If it is 9 and 9C, I am saying it will be only 20%. Because over a period of time, this service is going to be one of those, when the client comes to me, I tell him I charge you 1 lakh. Then he goes to Sanjay. Sanjay says, sir, 75,000. Oh, Madhukar se acha karunga. Then he goes to Ketan. Ketan says, sir, kya? Itna sab nahi hai, sir. 50,000 bas hai. And client, he neither comes to Ketan nor goes to Sanjay. He comes back to Madhukar. Sanjay says 75. Ketan says 50. Sir, aap hi kar lo. 50 mein kar lo. This is what is going to happen to this 9C and 9. So I expect that margins here are the lowest in all the services in GST. But we should not leave it. You should look at it as a loss leader. If at all, you should do it. Then you will have one very good area which is called pre-audit. Not started to a big extent now, but we made a lot of margin in that area, where whenever the government gives a notice for audit, that time the client will send you that notice. Then you should tell him, sir, iska ye questions aayega. If you want, I can send you a small checklist of what are the possible areas. So 150 ka checklist dejiye unko, client ko. Now he has no time, and by the time he reads the first 5, he knows I'm in trouble. So then he will call Sanjay or Ketan, and then you can quote very well. 60 to 80% can be your value add in this, margin in this type of activity, because you don't have all the time. You'll have to do it fast, urgent basis. Abhi aaj notice aaya, within 2 days, you have to start the audit, complete it within another 5 days or 10 days, rectify everything in the next return, and then offer yourself for the next, the regular departmental audit. Then if I look at advisory is 75%, but comes with a lot of risk. My understanding is a normal chartered accountant who understands GST cannot advise at all unless he has a super. He has some expert who is tied up with him, whom he can even pay something, 10,000 a month, whatever. I don't know what is the way it can be done. Or it can even be on the fee. I'll give you 20% of the fee. Please vet my opinion. Some senior will vet your opinion. He will not do the opinion. He will say, this is not correct what you have said, or you have to add the following and give. And you do it, and over a period of time, you'll improve. But this is also 75% of the margin. Dispute resolution, which is the place where you are going to earn the maximum in 5 years' time. Anybody who is in GST, they'll be earning 65% of their income from only litigation, considering what is the level of the law today. So if I'm earning, say my firm is earning 100 crores after 5 years, I can tell you with confidence that it will not be less than 60 crores will be in litigation. But if it is 60 crores in litigation, then how many people I require? Which all places I should have my office? I have to work backwards if I want to do that 60 crores. But it is also having 75% margin. Huge margin in litigation. And normally in litigation, bargaining is not there. Risk is also very less. Whereas in advisory, though it's 75%, risk is very high. And sometimes clients don't pay, for they think advice is free always. Because you are not putting people, nobody comes to their office and goes. Anyway, that is a thought process which I thought I will share with you. That is diversity in your thought process to add many more areas. There are, of course, many other supporting characteristics. You can Google for what professionals should have, what qualities, and I'm sure you can get some more information from there. So how do I go about it? First, get good depth of knowledge, get skills, get training, get exposure. Sometimes even doing it free. Say I'm a chartered accountant and I want to join Hirekangi and Associates. I should come and say, sir, 3 महीना मेरे को आपके साथ training करना है. आप कुछ मत दो मेरे को. Enough. 3 months, what the amount you learn will be something. Or you can say, sir, मेरे को training fee दे दो बस. मेरा आने जाने का खर्चा दे दो बस. If you are able to get into some good firms and get training, because otherwise the training For you to get that exposure will take 6 years. So if you want to fast track, join somebody who is already doing indirect tax in some way. Let me tell you, they'll be very happy to take you also. And possibly you don't have to tell them trainee also. What I'm saying, if you're willing to sit for 1 or 2 years, if you have a long-term plan and say, I'll be there with you for 1 or 2 years, chartered accountants will get paid whatever is the market rate and they can learn also. When you're doing all these, your knowledge, as you get your knowledge, start sharing. You know, in 2009, there was a PDICI ORG, there was a site. Some of you may know. I used to be #1 for about 5 years. 5 years. And at that time, indirect tax was not so famous. 2009, I'm telling. Where even GL, service tax had not gone up so much. But I was #1 on that site. And that I would say is one of the reasons why I won the election. And I also got a lot of clients. So just to give you an idea, share and create your perception on online groups. Ensure you are not wrong. Check before you put anything online. Don't put incorrect things. You also should know that, 80% of the work, 80% of the fees can come from 20% work. So you should be smart. Don't do donkey's work. Let the donkey's work be done by somebody else. Don't think client will go away because donkey is doing the work. The donkey will take over your work. You spend the time for reading and ensure that your value is never going. If you do that, I am sure you can have a wonderful practice in GST. Keep an open mind is always there. This is a cut paste slide, so you'll have some little of repetition. Understand basics, deepen the knowledge with real life. I said no, get training, then get expertise. Each of them I'll tell you also how. Serve clients and employers, focus on understanding their business and value adds. Qualification is sometimes very good. The present day chartered accountants or CMAs, CSs, they have a strong basis of indirect tax. So we don't get any big advantage except for the CA, the articles period. If GST audits and all of that, there you can get it. I've given you one link to Hiregangi Academy where basic plus advanced course is there. This is updated as of June. This is free for anybody. My suggestion is if you have not done, don't go directly to advanced course. Do the basic course. It may take you 2 months on weekends or daily in the evening. Then go to the advanced course. This is my suggestion. Anyway, left to you. If you are doing online and online like this litigation thing which is coming up, my suggestion is that you should do a little reading before you go for that course. You know what is the topic for the day. 10 minutes, have a look at headlines of that, what is going to be taught. Google it if you want. Make notes in the class because I have seen many of the speakers give 10, 20, 30, 50 value adds in the course of their speaking. But we don't make notes. And later we don't remember it. Out of that 50, I may remember 10 only. And if 1 month has gone, I don't even remember that 10. I know something has been said in that regard. So if you are like me, then you need to make notes. Ideally, you should have a knowledge diary, topic wise. For example, if you say ITC restriction, in ITC restriction, gifts should be a separate folio. Under that you can put, so whatever comes you can do. I think this is Google, this thing Zoom, no? So you've got all these fellows coming and doing all sorts of things on the screen. So ask questions, very important, and also listen to others' questions. That's why today I plan to give 30 minutes time for your questions. That possibly will be as value additive as the 90-minute session before that. After class, whatever online class you do, whether you're a chartered accountant who's 60 years old like me or 30 years old, you need to revise after the classes. If you revise whatever you have learned in that week, am I able to do it? Sometimes I am not able to do. I am not. Nowadays, getting old is also made me look at many other areas of my life. Post-lockdown, economy will stabilize. You can certainly flourish and provided you have empowered yourself. Deeper understanding this, you need to get into the next level of having some commentaries, not only the base law. The ICI publications also are good. There are a lot of good books available. If there is an industry which is fixed, for example, textile, there is one textile book also available focused on GST in textiles, the one on real estate. These two we have written. I'm sure there are other books which others have written. We are also coming up with something on healthcare and pharma. I think these online, things are very good nowadays. Tax Sutra, Clear Tax, many of them give a lot of information, but many times we can get lost in the tremendous amount of information which is available. You should be able to sieve the information and see that you are on some credible online resource so that you can continually learn. You can be on specialized WhatsApp group. Don't be on this general WhatsApp group where half the time they are saying happy birthday Sanjay, and then Sanjay will say thank you. Then I will say you are welcome. 400 members or 200 members saying this, you hardly see any information in it. And if somebody dies, my God, finished. That is another 1 week of lamentation. So I would suggest keep WhatsApp group professional. See that 1 or 2 experts are there who will own the correctness of the answers on the group, then you can make WhatsApp group work. I have found most of the WhatsApp group become a waste of time. And the type of questions, repetitive questions being asked without a moderator, it is very difficult. Attending seminars like this, I may give you some specific things. Study circles in your locality is the best way. We had started 28 years back. I started something called the Akshara group. Today, I don't attend that group at all. But Akshara group is, it's the type of questions which are asked and sometimes the type of answers which are coming are wonderful. And they have, I think, weekly. We have one group called Artha, in which we have around 10, 15 chartered accountants, and we have around 30 or 40 advocates. Namma Legal Foundation is there, and there is one more attached to that. So this Artha group, we started around 15 years back. Huge amount of value. Today we had one gentleman who is practicing in the Supreme Court. His father also was practicing in the Supreme Court. He shared some good insights for about 1.5 hours. Wonderful it was. So gaining experience, of course, I have talked about. Expertise is another cup of tea, okay? Unless, if you want to be an expert, you require to work under some senior for some time, or at least have an umbrella. I never worked under any senior because I am a little, you can say, adamant type. And heavily egoistic. So now I understand that my ego has come down a little, but I still think it's pretty high. But working with a senior may be a very good idea. I had a mentor, Mr. Sri Ravi Shankar. Wherever I had difficulty, I used to go to him, and till the end, he never ever dissuaded me. And if I was there with an appointment and his client came without appointment, he would make the client wait till I finished. It may take 1.5 hours. He will not ask me to go. He will finish my 1.5 hour session for which he gets nothing. Then only he meet the client. So I am really thankful to him that in my early stages, he was a wonderful guide and mentor for me. Other things you should read up. There is a lot of reading to be done. Those of you who want to be experts may have to dedicate 1 or 2 hours of specific reading every day and 1 hour of reading. So 3 hours is what I think makes you an extraordinary professional. I have written all the rest are all something which you can read later also. I would close with it's my dedication for 2021, which I am sharing with you. It could be your dedication at your option. So I am welcoming 2021 with my empowering commitment by first counting my blessings for 1920, what all I did well. In fact, in our office, internally, I have given this 10 blessings which we got in 1920. And then once we have counted our blessings, we are far better off than so many people. Ketan said, countless lives have gone, people's business has disappeared. We are still lucky as chartered accountants. No such thing happened to us. Maybe a few chartered accountants also would have died in the pandemic. I'm not saying no. But anyway, those who are watching, at least we can count our blessings. So we commit to grow by following the following good 10 principles. We will set out and revisit, rededicate our goals and dreams for the profession and put a structure in place. We know as chartered accountants, having a good idea is of no use. Only if you do something, execute it properly, monitor yourself, you will do well. The results come through great habits. We will start and continue 1 hour minimum of specific reading. If this is for myself, okay, and my office, where we have mostly the people who are knowledgeable in GST, 1 hour should be enough for them for knowledge. We commit to continue to share our insights among all at office and professional online. Remember, whatever I'm telling you, I've been doing for the last 20 years, and I've been growing very, very comfortably without working late. I don't work late at all. In my entire life, except during articles. In the articles, I must have worked about 40, 50 days late. In my professional life of 30 years, I would have worked about 20 days late. Nowadays, if anybody is sitting in office after 7, I ask them, "Kya kar rahe hai?" You must be doing your work inefficiently. Of course, I'm not there at 7 to ask him this. But sometimes when I call, he says, "I'm in office," then I tell them this. We'll start and continue a gratitude journal. Today, life is becoming very fast and we are becoming robotic. We have to acknowledge. For example, today when I started, I acknowledged Ketan for giving me this opportunity and Sanjay for introducing me. Right? Both of them would have felt little nice at that point of time. That everybody likes to be appreciated. Keep a gratitude journal. You yourself, thank yourself. We can also avoid being victims. There are articles which I put up on this. This is actually a very powerful area where all our office people should know this. Why do you want to give excuses? Why do you want to blame somebody? Why do you want to accuse somebody? All these three are like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. So when you do this, you drink poison and you make yourself weak. And these are the areas where you will not grow. Take responsibility, become accountable to the client, to your staff. Staff will be also accountable to you. Wonderful it is. Many of us chartered accountants have forgotten that we have to cleanse our mind and body. Many of us are unfit. We have become little fat. Some of us are very fat. We have not taken care of our mental well-being also. You know that so much stress is causing heart attack. I had a heart attack at the age of, before I was 40. And I didn't even know. Then later I was diagnosed, when I was 40, I was diagnosed with having had a heart attack. And at 50, after I went to the council and a lot of more stress was heaped on me, I had to go for a bypass in 2010, sorry. So we need to commit to work honestly, sincerely, independently, and transparently. One of the biggest things I have seen, the biggest place where I have, what I could say, grown is because of the deep fears I have. I always have, I have had a lot of fears. I had a little difficult childhood also. And my CA was very difficult. I finished my CA when I was 27 years old. And then I had no godfather. So another 5-6 years, I had no work also. My wife must have been wondering why I ever married this fellow. Because he, even for 50 rupees, after being CA for 5 years, I used to make her run. 50 rupees I'm talking about. Now, of course, if she asks a crore, I can cut a check. That's a different matter. So I think facing my fears has been my biggest plus point. In 2004, I learned to face my fears. And in 2010, I became Central Council member directly without having the best of, I'm not a very likable person from interpersonal relationship. But because of my commitment to the profession and teaching, I was able to go to Central Council directly. And I didn't fear anybody. No president, nobody I feared. Even when you would have seen on 1st July, when Arun Jaitley sat next to me for half an hour, I didn't even talk to him because I felt that he has not done justice at that time. Of course, after he went, the person who has come, I think Arun Jaitley was God. He did so well compared to the subsequent person. Anyway, We are also committing to make a difference to meet everybody in society, client, office. And we want to be net givers. Remember, we are so lucky. We should be net givers. I'm not saying do things free. Be net giver in your life. Give much more than you take. And I have given you some links, and each and every participant today, that 175 or so, I wish each and every one of you to be, you leaders, a wonderful, joyous and empowered 2021. All the best. There are some resources in this. You are sharing this PPT, Ketan, with all the people?
Yes, sir. Yes, yes. I am going to.
Okay. Then I don't want to read it out. You can go to all these places. This topic which Chetan gave, I think he may have asked me to talk about this topic because I wrote 13 articles from goal setting onwards, how to get clients, how to skill yourself, how to get people skill, technology, what should be done, how to get away from distraction. So I have written 13 articles, and I have given the link here for any of you who are interested to go. These are all freely downloadable, and this can go for anything. Even if you are doing income tax or audit or whatever, you can do this. If you are an advocate also, you can go here. With that, I would like to thank you. I have taken 5 minutes beyond the time I promised. Thank you very much for a very patient hearing. Over to you, Ketan.
Thank you very much, sir. It was very learning and interesting session for all of them, for the members of our study circle. Now, members, I request you to, if you want to ask questions directly to the sir, you can directly ask you questions by unmuting yourself, or alternatively, you can also write in chat box also. Whatever question regarding GST practice, or whatever regarding the motivation, or regarding your practice related questions, you can directly ask, because ultimately we have to take the experience and the benefit of your such a learned and experienced faculty in our study circle. So any members who want to ask questions, you can directly ask them.
Chat box also.
Sir, if we are talking about regarding the GST, you are mentioning that in case of the classifications of the GST rate on some goods, one of the practical case what happened with my client, that is that they are purchasing one of the goods from another client, and that client was used to pay GST rate at the rate of 18%. But on actual, the GST rate was leviable at the rate 28%. When the GST department conduct the search at that place, and difference 10% GST they have paid on account of this search, and they have given the debit net to my client to avail the input tax credit of that 10% difference. Can my client take the credit of the same, sir?
It depends, no, whether it is you have a provision in GST. If the show cause notice is for the within the limitation period under Section 73, not in the longer period with suppression, fraud, etc., then your client can get the credit. So what we do normally for clients who come with a problem, say a client is there who was thinking that it should be 8%, and he was charging 8%, but it was 18%. I am taking your example. So when the department started investigation, he came to know it's 18. Immediately he made a debit note for 10% and gave it to your client. Your client can take credit because it's before the issue of the notice. Once notice is issued, invoking longer period, your client is not eligible for credit. But I think today's session is not to clarify doubts. Today's session should be about how to practice. So I would like that. If you want to clarify doubts, you send me a mail. I will send you a quote also.
Okay. Sir, your video are not. We cannot see your face. So
I'll put it on, but sometimes this problem with this, sometimes it says here connection weak and all. I don't want to get cut off. Okay. Now it's okay, I think. You can see me, right?
Yes, yes.
Should I go to the chat and see, or Sanjay, you can read out the chat? Anything is there? Any questions are there? Yes. I think Vishal is here.
Sir, I have a question. In seminar, you said one example of fee structures and how client behave. like first they comes to a standard CA, then they go through around local CAs, and the fees gradually all the CA quote differently, and then they came back to the main CA and said like you should charge this amount on this 1 lakh to 75,000 to 50,000. All that you say. So
Correct.
this is actually happening here as well. Like even for GST filing, if you can say that people are filing GST returns for just 500 rupees only, and like we can feel that like we should not be like in that pool. So like in lowering our fees and like investing our time in such areas where we cannot improve ourselves, or neither we are getting good remunerations for the time that we are spending. So what would be the like a scenario for us for next 5 years, in which area we should invest our time? So like if we forgo those practice right now, suppose I don't want to invest my time in such clients, but it will also lower my income. But what would be the area for future next 5 years in which I can invest my time, so I can get more than that in next 5 years?
So, Vishal, my first point, I have actually addressed this in my presentation. First thing, as a chartered accountant with brains, willing to put sincere and good effort for the service of clients. Number one, I would say, first, you be very strong in your mind that you will provide value-added services.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, if you want to do that exercise of mere filing, which is nothing, Excel comes, you upload. Then you have some people in your office, some juniors. You say that, देखो भैया, मेरे को involve होना है तो per return I will not charge less than 5,000 per month, but I'll verify everything and then only do. आपको बस Excel upload करना है, तो ये बंदा है, आप उसी के पास जाओ. Now I'm limiting my scope. Whatever information you give, I am not going to verify. Any doubt you have, we'll tell you what is the answer. Then I will file it for 500, but it will be done by that fellow. And that fellow will file around 100 returns. The one fellow will be filing 100 returns. So you can keep that aside. What we did is, we knew that there's more than enough work, and there were very less consultants at the time when I started. Now you have 1 lakh consultants to fight with you in India. More than 1 lakh actually. Professionals are 1 lakh, non-professionals about 4 lakhs are there. So total 5 lakh people are there in GST now. So let them do it otherwise. Let them go. Small clients, leave it off. Any client who's big, then you have to ensure you have a loss. If you want, you can use it as a loss leader. Loss leader. No? Even though I lose, I will give. मैं आपको, chana dal, I will give you at cheapest price in the market. So चना दाल तो हर गुजराती खाता है. So he will come to my shop and say, अरे यार मधुकर का शॉप में चना दाल बहुत cheap है. But he doesn't realize everything else is market price. So I'll get my money from market. कितना चना खाएगा वो? Along with chana, he'll buy Colgate, he'll buy Hindustan Liver, that, this, everything. If you want to do, you can do as a loss leader. Otherwise, don't do that area at all. This is one more. Thought number two, how to bill itself is a very big issue. In fact, in those series of articles I have written, the 13 series, one of them is how to bill also. Possibly you can get your, you can get your inputs on that at that point. So I'm not going to take it further, but I am sure if you look at how to get clients and how to bill, this dilemma of yours could get reduced to some extent. I always believe that you have to work on yourself, not the clients. Don't bother about the market, because we have gone to new markets. I have gone to Pune, where we did not have even one contact. And today, my partner Ravi Somani is called Ravi Sir. He's a young boy like you. He's called Ravi Sir by people who are 50 plus. Because he's done so much service, so many seminars he did. He teaches anybody, answers anybody. And we are doing more than 1.5 crores there. So, point is that if we look at ourselves, don't look outside at the environment. Look at Vishal. Where all Vishal should improve, you coach yourself. Spend, like I said, 3 hours a time, 3 hours a day you spend for improving yourself. You don't have to run after any work at all. Work will just keep coming to your office. There's one question which is there, which I will answer. Vishal, with this, I stop your answer. I hope you're partially satisfied. When you read the article, you will be fully satisfied. You can write to me also.
Sure.
You can mail me.
Sure.
How are you managing all branches and long-term relations with partner is what Vimal Bhuva has asked me. So I think this is a very big question. I am writing an article for BCAS, which will come in February. This may answer it. It's a very big subject. I don't know whether I can take it. But briefly, I'll tell you. This is the place where good ethics pays. Be very straight with people. Be very clear with people. Keep your word up. Have trust. Without trust, nothing works. But while you are having trust, don't trust fully. Not 100%. जैसे कि हम trust करते हैं पर audit होता है, right? Shareholders trust the company, but audit is done. Internal audit is done. SOX audit is done. Like that, I am saying, trust the people who come in, and that is something you can do. One thing which is required to attract people is you have to be fair with them. For example, when people come, I give them a possibility of earning 80% of what they earn back to them. That means if there is a branch now, I have a branch in Pune or wherever I have now. Mumbai, I have a branch. So we have about 10, 12 branches. Everywhere, after some time, not immediately. Aaj branch shuru hua, you don't get 80%. 3 saal ke baad, you get around 80% of whatever you earn. And for that 20%, you are getting what? You are getting the knowledge, you are getting the contacts, you are getting work coming through the door, you are getting the brand. And every one of my partners, I encourage them to build their own brand. So Vimal, the point is that you have to be willing to give up. And as I said, having so many branches, first thing it requires is trust. If you ask me, did any of my partners cheat me? I would say, unless the facility was available, they never cheated. For example, 6 years I went to the council. That time I'm not bothering about the branch. Then something happened. Some, they thought that I am only putting the effort and they did some things. It's okay. But ethics has not been compromised generally in our place. And if anybody is ethically non-compliant, we send them out, even if it's a partner. Partner level also, who doesn't follow ethics is out. So this is my answer to Vimal Bua.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Yes. Any another member want to ask the question?
Yes, Ketanji, if it's not there, then we'll close.
Yeah, definitely.
Sir, one question of mine is that how we work with foreign countries outside, how we work with foreign country related to accounting work.
That I don't know, no, because I am only doing GST. But there are a lot of KPOs around. You may have to join. What I had suggested to somebody is that, say, now you are there. What's your, how many years you have been in practice, Sanjay?
6 years.
Okay, then you have built up a small practice. You can't leave and go for a job, right? But if there is somebody, your friend is there who wants to join you and you are interested in doing this area, I had suggested this to one person called Vinay Hegde in a small place, very small place called Sirsi. And he wanted to be people in Sirsi, people in that office. Sirsi is a beautiful place, good weather, and they want to be there because they have plantations and all that. So they can take care of that ancestral property and also do practice. So this Vinay Hegde, what he did is, he and one more person came and joined Accenture in Bangalore for 2 years. Today, Vinay Hegde employs 100 people. 80 of them are in Bangalore. 20 are there in Sirsi. And obviously, he can even afford me now. He can call me and take my consultation. So it requires somewhere you have to have somebody who can go to some KPO where tax work is being done and then come back and replicate it. There is enough of work throughout the world. It's going to increase also. This KPO is a wonderful area. Outsourcing of work for foreign clients is a very big area. But they also expect you, they you can't say, Meri behan ka shadi tha. All this doesn't work with them. They'll terminate you immediately. They may even impose cost on you. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. I think there is no any another question is going to be for today's session. Now, if the members who have not written your membership number and name for attendance versus city, you can write in chat box so that we can enable the city. Now, I would like to request our Deputy Commander CS and just to give the formal vote of thanks for today's virtual sitting.
Thank you, Ketan bhai. Hello.
Yes, now.
I'm audible.
Yeah.
Thank you all member. With my great pleasure, on behalf of PKCP Study Circle, I would like to give a bunch of thanks to an eminent speaker, CA Madhukar Hirgangeji. As sir sharing valuable knowledge regarding scope in future in IDT field includes foreign trade policy and global service of various action point of how made expertise yourself, which is most important for all members. Which type of audit done by professionals. It's most important for especially Surat and our study circle because there are more competition in one practice like in GST and IT. So it's better to practice done in different areas as sir described very well. Other most important of how to handle staff with management strategies and practice done with value-added service with all practical cases, which is very much helpful to all of us. Sir, for your valuable knowledge, acquire our study circle, always connect with you, and we want that you came further for another session in future, other topic also. And I thankful to our office bearer, our convener, C. Ketan Begadia, our past convener, and all committee member of PKCP Study Circle for arranging such a wonderful and knowledgeable session for us. And thank you all members present during the whole session and eliminated this whole session. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Bye.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, now I am concluding this meeting, ending